You're such an asshole.
Hey kids, obviously I have my voice back. Now not 1,000%, 99.8. And we knew you couldn't make it to the new these are backlog requests that have been paid before I shut down for the season, so I'm catching up here. I know you all like to pick on me. Anyway, our North Korean agent in the field wanted me to review this essay. This essay is by Sergei Lavrov. Let me go through. He's the Russian foreign minister since 2004. I backed up out of it. And this is an article or an essay he wrote in 2019. And I believe this is about Russia because he's Russian foreign minister. And the title is The World at a Crossroads and a System of International Relations for the Future. It's a lengthy piece, but I was paid a lot of money. Here's the short version, abstract. Next year, we will celebrate two great and interconnected anniversaries, the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic and Second World Wars, and the establishment of the UN, reflecting on the spiritual and moral significance of these landmark events. One needs to bear in mind the enormous potential political meaning of the victory that ended one of the most brutal wars in the history of mankind. Rivalry and confrontation, or cooperation and security. The defeat of fascism in 1945 fundamentally affected the further course of the world history and created conditions for establishing a post-world order. The UN Charter became its pillar and a key source of international law. The UN-centric system still preserves its sustainability and has a great degree of resilience. It actually serves as a safety net that ensures peaceful development of mankind amid naturally divergent interests and rivalries among leading powers. The World War II experience of ideology-free cooperation of states with different socioeconomic and political systems is still highly relevant. I'm very impressed. I don't know if he wrote it or somebody else wrote it, but he writes very well. It is regrettable that this obvious truth is being deliberately silenced or ignored by certain influential forces in the West. Moreover, attempts have intensified to privatize the victory, expunge from memory the Soviet Union's role in the defeat of Nazism, condemn to oblivion the Red Army's feat of sacrifice and liberation. He's right. If you all watch documentaries of World War II, it was U.S., Britain, Free France, Belgium, Netherlands, that kind of resistance. That was one side, and then the rest of the side was the Russians. Forget that many millions of Soviet citizens who perished during the war and wipe out from history the consequences of the ruinous policy of appeasement. A look from the perspective reveals the true essence of the concept of expounding the equality of totalitarian regimes. Its purpose is not just to belittle the Soviet Union's contribution to the victory, but also to retrospectively strip our country of its historic role as an architect and guarantor of the post-war world order. I disagree with you there, buddy. It's kind of that old Cold War. And hey, we're going to make everything communism and label it a revisionist power that is posing a threat to the well-being of the so-called free world. Interpreting the past in such a manner also means that for some of our partners, a major achievement of the post-war system of international relations must be seen in the establishment of a transatlantic link and U.S. permanent military presence in Europe. This is definitely not the scenario the Allies had in mind while creating the United Nations. The disintegration of the Soviet, and I'm going to go there too, where Trump was right. Why do we need NATO? I'm not a big. Don't. Oh, you hate Ukraine. Oh, you hate. I like both. I understand why there's fighting. I think it's stupid, but just to interject, the reason I'm skeptical of the pro-Ukraine and they're just walking along doing their own thing is when the invasion occurred, just how quick U.S. media was to ban the Russian point of view or alternative points of view. This also coming from the U.S. media that has told American, young people for generations now that How many lies do you want? Oh my God, global warming. Oh my God, the sky is falling. There's 43 different flavors of gender. Any degree is a good degree. Socialism is good. You girls don't need no man. The lies. And every once in a while they would get it right, like the ozone hole. That was actually legitimate. Like, oh crap, yeah, we better not throw those fluorocarbons up into that. But for every one of those, you kids don't remember being Gen X kids. We're gonna die because of deforestation. We're gonna die because of Ronald Reagan. We're gonna die. We're surprised we made it the next day. But with the sheer amount of lies that the Western media has, they have an agenda. It's a leftist agenda, generally speaking. It shocked me how quickly the left, for social freedoms, they used to be anyway. We're not allowed to read RT? I'm not allowed to listen to the video that Putin put out? They could all be lying sacks of filth. But it really, really raised my eyebrow and concerned me, where I'm like, we're not even going to allow them to say it? You're going to expunge that from all Western media? Which is antithetical of free speech. And that's what that's what concerned me. So you have to go out and seek, well, what's the Russians say about it? Have you guys ever listened to what the Russians said about it? So where'd it go? Oh, I skipped ahead. Let me get up here. The disintegration of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall that had symbolically separated the two camps, and the disappearance of the irreconcilable ideological standoff that had laid the framework for world politics in virtually all spheres and regions. All those tectonic shifts failed to bring the triumph of a unifying agenda. See, I thought we were unified. We're like, oh my God, we're all so about this new thing, but I thought the Russians were our friends, our former Soviet empire, various states. It's like, oh, we're done with that now. Thank God we didn't nuke each. I thought, not that we're going to be best buddies ever, but we'd at least have good normalized relations. All those instead, all we could hear were triumphant declarations about the end of history and the existence of only one global decision-making center. I don't know if I heard that, but maybe you guys did. Today is obvious that the efforts to establish a unipolar model have failed. The transformation of the world order has become irreversible. New major players wielding a sustainable economic power seek to increase their influence on regional and global developments. This is all before the war, by the way. They are all fully entitled to claim a greater role in the decision-making process. There's a growing demand for a more just and inclusive system. Don't you guys sit on the Security Council? The overwhelming majority of the members of the international community reject the relapses of arrogant neocolonial policies, empowering certain countries to impose their will on others. Not wrong. I am not, by the time Boris Yeltsin took over, I'm like, I was 17. As an adult, I'd be like, why do we have NATO anymore? Oh, we could finally take those, we could save money. We're buddies now. And the expansion of NATO, would you guys like it if Russia took over Mexico? Would you guys like it if they're a military? Oh, they tried that. Nicaragua, Central America. It's such a stupid war. Impose their will on others. All these new developments are greatly disturbing to those who for centuries have become accustomed to setting patterns of global development and enjoying exclusive advantages. While the majority of states aspire to a more fair system of international relations, a genuine rather than declarative respect for the UN Charter principles, those demands come from up against the policies designed to preserve an order that allows a narrow group of countries and transnational corporations to reap the fruits of globalization. See, here's why I disagree with him. You guys aren't completely hopeless and helpless. And this is where it's up to the individual. What do you need the United States for? What do you need Europe for? I mean, yeah, you'd like to trade with them, be on good terms with them. But here's where corruption comes in. Like, you guys can't do anything. China, Russia, and Brazil to a lesser extent, the BRIC countries, India probably the best out of all four from a financial perspective or at least corruption perspective. Although India and China don't like each other too much. You guys, it's like you're complaining you're not invited to this party. Who says you want to go to the party? Who says you have to go start your own party? Now, I don't know, maybe through backdoor channels, and I'm not at the pay grade and I don't have the security clearance. Is the U.S. getting in the way of economic trade agreements between you and China? Has the United States gotten in the way between Japan and any developing nation? This is where I don't call it BS, but it's kind of like, hey, stop whining. Like, why would you want to like get into that club? Why don't you go do your own thing? And I don't know if you notice the United States and Europe for whatever corruption problems, the former Eastern Bloc, generally speaking, the people who got the economic potential to go and do their own thing, and we don't need the U.S. or Europe. For every ounce of corruption, maybe you haven't factored this into your analysis, the West is equally mentally ill. They're losing the freaking mind. They're so spoiled. They have so much money, borrowed and printed, admittedly. They got people like the article where like 40% of certain colleges, the students think they're not straight. Yeah, there might be some not straight people, sure, but most of them are faking it. We got a mentally ill, lazy. Don't worry, you're not going to want to trade with us pretty soon. What do we make? I don't know. Do you really want to be let into this club enough? The West's response to the ongoing developments revealed true intentions of its proponents. Their rhetoric on liberalism, democracy, and human rights goes hand in hand with the policies of inequality, injustice, selfishness, and a belief in their own exceptionalism. Liberalism, you know what you might be having a problem with? And here I got to tell you, buddy, you're old. Sergei, or Mr. Prime Minister, you were around in the Soviet times. Your buddy, Putin, KGB, I don't know if he did it, but what was it? Yuri Bezmenov? What do they call it? The social upheaval, the sowing the seeds. You guys did a great job convincing the academic media soft underbelly of the United States and the West. What are you complaining about? They become the Marxist socialists. Now they're mentally ill. Now they're up in their own ass. Like your buddy Lenin. Remember Lenin came from a relatively wealthy thing. He was going to save all the original SJW. So, look, the American knows a little bit of history of Russia. Robert Massey's book on Peter the Great was awesome. I don't know, your predecessors, you were a young man back then. Your predecessors did a great job of infiltrating the West and convincing future generations of not working. Communism, we got it. Now they're mentally ill. Now they'll come up with anything they could possibly do so that they don't have to work. I mean, look at our president right now. Biden. Literally. The only thing he's done aside from being a politician is he played college football. Guys, don't believe me? Look it up. The guy's never worked a day in his life. Like your buddy Lenin. Probably not your buddy. I'm being a little harsh on the prime minister. But the irony, this came back to bite you guys in the end. You're like, the Americans are unreasonable. Well, you're the ones that put the poison in the well like 60, 50 years ago with the hippies and all that. And now you're surprised Americans in the West in general acting like a bunch of entitled Kuantahahas. You'll have to look that up in case Sergei is listening to this. Liberalism, which the West claims to defend, focuses on the individual and personal rights and freedoms. This raises the question, how does it correlate with policies of sanctions, economic strangulation, and overt military threats against independent countries such as Cuba, Iran, Venezuela, North Korea, or Syria? Well, I know North Korea, Iran, Cuba, maybe not so much, but certainly back in the day in Venezuela, yeah, because they're Marxists. I don't know why the United States and Venezuela doesn't get along. Surely you must admit Maduro and the latest Jin Ilm Kum Sul, whatever fat leader they got now eating all the food. in North Korea. Admittedly, the dictators, you can see where we don't really like them that much. I don't know anything in Syria enough to comment on it. But yeah, I can see where there'd be military threats against that. Sanctions directly impair the well-being of ordinary people and violate their social and economic rights. No, not when you don't have social and economic rights in dictatorships. How does the imperative of protecting human rights agree with the bombing of sovereign nations, the deliberate policy of destroying their statehood, the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives, and immeasurable suffering, a million of Iraqis, Libyans, Syrians, represents all these other peoples? I will go along with that. The United States was probably trying to liberate the people, and that's what we did with Iraq. Didn't work. The reckless Arab Spring gamble has destroyed the unique ethnic and religious mosaic of the Middle East and North Africa. In Europe, the proponents of liberal concepts get along quite well with massive violations of the rights of Russian-speaking citizens in a number of EU and EU neighboring countries. These countries violate multilateral international conventions by adopting laws that infringe on language and education rights of ethnic minorities. I can't speak to that because I don't pay attention to European politics. What is liberal about visa denials and other sanctions imposed by the West on residents of Russia's Crimea? They are punished for their democratic vote in favor of reunification with their historical homeland. Okay, so this comes after the 2014 annexation of Crimea by Russia. Oops, where did we go? I lost it. And I'll have to plead ignorance on a lot of this. I used to be an analyst. I used to pay attention to things, and I know any analyst will tell you have to. Well, it's the country you're following. I've never followed Russia or Crimea. I was more back in the Asian Tiger days, 90s and aughts. Those are fun times. So, getting back to my point, though, I'm going to have to say I don't know on a lot of this stuff. I don't know what's going on in Russia and the Crimea. I know 2014 there was an invasion. I really don't pay attention anymore. See, because as successful as the prime minister is, the prime minister, I don't want that job. Oh, no. I'm going hiking today. Got my fun Santa hat on. It's Christmas. I don't want anything that when I was a young man, I might have wanted that. Not anymore. Nope. There's one thing I've always wondered about Putin. I'm like, don't you have enough? I'm not even calling for the guy to step down. I'm just like, it's like Pelosi. Like, how long do you want to do this? Wouldn't you rather be fishing? I thought Medvedev. I thought that guy would, Putin gone fishing, but nope, he wanted to come back. Does this not contradict the basic rights of the people of self-determination, let alone the right of people? Freedom of movement enshrined in international conventions. Genuine liberalism, in its sound, undistorted sense, has always been an important component of political philosophy, both in Russia. What? What? Both in Russia and worldwide. We're going back to what, 1992? I believe you're there, maybe. However, the multiplicity of development models does not allow us to say that the Western basket of liberal values has no alternative. I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, while you're defending Venezuela and Iran. And of course, these values cannot be established by bayonets by ignoring the history of states, their cultural and political identities. Grief and destruction caused by liberal aerial bombings graphically show what this can lead to. The West's unwillingness to accept today's realities, when after centuries of economic, political, and military domination is losing the prerogative? You mean prerogative? Of being the only power to shape the global agenda has given rise to the concept of rules-based order. These rules are being invented and selectively combined depending on the fleeting needs of the people behind it. I'll agree with you there. The U.S. Is at its weak men stage, where after we defeated the Soviet Union, or I guess the Soviet Union quit would be a better way to put it. Yeah, unchecked power unchecked power, unlimited wealth, world reserve currency, printing presses, results in the spoiled quanta highs you got in the United States now, which if you delve deep enough into it, I think that might be your problem. But you're right. You're right. United States has been the big dick for so long that it's starting to get mentally ill. Spoiled kids in the suburbs. The poor kids in the city or the barrio, wherever they get the government money, they're all spoiled. I don't care how poor you actually are. It's like, well, did you get unearned money? You did. Wow, now you're an insufferable, hypocritical, thieving human being. Yeah, you're running into that. That's what you're running into amoral people. You did a real good job getting that socialism. You did a real good job. Did you see how well you guys did with the feminism to convince our women to hate their men, or to get our women to hate us men so much? You did a great job with that. I don't know how much you paid the feminists back in the 60s to do that. These rules are being invented and selectively combined depending on the fleeting needs of the people behind it, and the West is persistently introducing this language into everyday usage. Right? I agree. You see what they try to do? They try to get that feminism thing going in Afghanistan. You guys remember how easy it is to get the Afghanis to do what you want, right? Right? Oh, he knows Russian history. I watched Rambo. I would love to get a Soviet view of Rambo at the time. That must have been because you guys were all watching Dallas. I wonder what they thought of Rambo. The concept is by no means abstract and is actively being implemented. Its purpose is to replace the universally agreed international legal instruments and mechanisms with narrow formats where alternative, non-consensual methods of resolving various international problems are devised in circumvention of a legitimate multilateral framework. Yeah, I know you're an academic and a policy guy, but you do know it's like the honor system, that whole UN thing. It is the honor system. In other words, this is being done on the expectation of usurping the decision-making roles in key matters. Not disagreeing with you. Which is why I'm like, why don't you do your own thing? I guess you did with Ukraine. The intentions of those who initiated this rules-based order concept affect the exceptional powers of the UN Security Council. A recent example, when the United States and its allies failed to convince the Security Council to approve politicized decisions that accused, without any proof, the Syrian government of using prohibited toxic chemical weapons. They started to promote the rules they needed through the organization of the prohibition of chemical weapons by manipulating the existing procedures in flagrant violation of Chemical Weapons Convention. Wait, the U.S. Really? Kind of like how you commies, well, not you, but the 60s commies now make it that, well, the United States doesn't ban free speech, but by God, every private company sure does. We've convinced everybody to be like the Stasi. How many Soviet references can I get here? Remember, it's kind of similar. The East German Stasi. This is, Americans won't know. There were two Germanys at one time, but you're all stupid and you're educated by American public teachers who are as dumb as I don't have anything that is truly dumb. If the dog had a pile of crap, I'd show you a dog turd. But how you got the people to turn people in, kind of like how in the United States now, if I say something that's too truthful and hurts, a fraggy-vaggy community within the United States, I'm banned. Like that? Soviets did a great job. Good job. Outstanding. Oh my God, it's basically, here's how I'll simplify it. Communism is a bunch of dickheads wanting to not work and will gladly enslave other people at the end of a gun so that they don't have to work, right? So everyone becomes a dick. You guys implemented that system in the United States, clandestinely. And now, after the seeds have been sowed and had time to fest, you're like, oh my God, America's acting like a bunch of communist dicks. Wow, who saw that coming? I would have been a great analyst. I was a great analyst. I'm not blaming him for it. I'm just like, well, you see what happens? Okay, so they're circumventing the UN, which was a direct intrusion in the prerogative. I think you mean prerogatives. You're spelling that wrong. Of the UN Security Council, one can observe similar attempts to privatize the secretariats of international organizations in a bid to advance interests outside the framework of universal intergovernmental mechanisms in such areas as biological non-proliferation, peacekeeping, prevention of doping in sports, and other. Like the Soviets and East. Oh man, how many jokes? Worthy of. I wonder what happened to those East German powerlifter gals. I wonder where they are now. Worthy of separate attention is the moot concept of countering violent extremism, which lays the blame for the dissemination of radical ideologies and expansion of the social base of terrorism on political regimes that the West have proclaimed undemocratic, illiberal, or authoritarian. This concept provides for direct outreach to civil society over the head of legitimate governments. I don't know if Iraq and Iran were legitimate. I know the Shah. I understand. Obviously, its true goal is to withdraw counterterrorism efforts from under the UN umbrella and to obtain a tool for interference in other states' internal affairs. I'm sorry, planes were flown into our buildings. I was like, take them over, dictatorship. I was. This is when I actually cared about America. And I started meeting Americans, especially my generation. As they got older, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a bunch of dicks. But no, were planes not flown into our buildings? I'd be like, really? Like, okay, we're taking over all of it. Now, there could have been smarter ways to do it. Like, oh, they were all Saudis? Guess we're taking over Saudi Arabia. Oh, the rest of the Muslim community doesn't like that? Guess what? But I don't think it was see, you're starting to do the blood for oil thing. When the amount of money we spent on Iraq alone, we could have had a synthetic oil program for a fraction of that cost. That shuts people up real good. Blood for oil. Like, you do know we could have just made the oil for a fraction of the cost, right? Synthetically. What's synthetic oil? Never mind. You're a liberal arts major. You don't know what it is. Revisionism clearly manifests itself in the area of strategic stability, the torpedoing by the U.S. of the ABM Treaty and the INF Treaty, a decision supported unanimously by NATO members, has generated the risk of dismantling the entire nuclear arms control structure. Oh, no, we're keeping our nukes. Oh, no. The prospect of the treaty on measures for the further reduction and limitation of strategic offense arms, the New START, I'm okay with that, are vague. The U.S. has not given a clear answer to the Russian proposal to extend the New START beyond its expiry date, February 2021. I would go with you there. Like, we're done with that whole. Well, weren't the nuclear weapons real expensive for you guys to maintain? Not for us. We had Reagan. That's right. Reagan went through what? 4 premiers? They all kept dying of old age. Soviet premiers, look it up. Andropov. What did he last? Like a month? There are alarming signs of a media campaign unfolding in the United States aimed at laying the groundwork for abandoning the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which has not been ratified by the United States. This calls into question the future of this treaty, which, vital for international peace and security, Washington has embarked upon the implementation of its plans to deploy weapons in outer space, rejected proposals to introduce a universal moratorium on such activities. I don't know. Trump was our guy, right? 2019, when this was written, Trump was there, right? No, he's not giving up the nukes. Another example of revisionist rules is the United States withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action on Iran's nuclear program, multilateral agreement approved by UN Security, which is of paramount importance for nuclear non-proliferation. In other examples, Washington's open refusal to implement unanimous UN Security Council resolutions. All right, it's just a litany of things I'm unfamiliar with on the settlement of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Dude, we need to return Palestine to the Assyrians, okay? That's what we need to do. That's also my argument. Oh, colonialism. Oh, yeah, you're all just peaceful over here. We'll return Palestine to the Assyrians or the Hittites. And as you know, a lot of stuff. Watch, some actually nerd. The Hittites weren't that far south. They were in Anatolia. They never made it that far south. Simultaneously, the U.S. is persistently trying to mobilize all its foreign partners to contain Russia and China. Yes, they are. I agree. It does not conceal the desire to sow discord between Moscow and Beijing and undermine multilateral alliances and regional integration. I agree. I agree with you right there. I don't know. Well, we're dicks. You created a bunch of Marxist dicks in the United States, a bunch of work avoidant dicks. That's Marxism. And now you're surprised. I have no idea. I know China wants to spy on us. We want to spy on us. I'm a little bit, and then there's the Taiwan issue. But I agree with you, John. Like, let's just trade and not fight each other. I get it. I'm with you 100%. I know China steals everything. Undermine multipolarity. In Eurasia and Asia Pacific, they're being implemented without its oversight. Pressure is exerted on those countries that do not play by the rules imposed on them and dare to make the wrong choice of cooperating with the U.S.'s adversaries. That's more than ever right now, right? With the let's not talk. No one talked to Becky. Like in middle school, that goes, nobody talked to Becky today. That's like what we're doing to Russia right now. Nobody trade with Russia with the sanctions. I agree. So what do we have as results in politics? Erosion of the international legal framework, growth of unstable and unsustainability, chaotic fragmentation of the global landscape, and a deepening mistrust between those involved in international life. In an area of security, blurring of the dividing line between military and non-military means of achieving foreign policy goals, militarization of international relations, increased reliance on nuclear weapons and U.S. security doctrines, lowering of the threshold of the use of such armaments, the emergence of new hotbeds of armed conflicts, the persistence of the global terrorist threat, and militarization of cyberspace. In the world economy, increased volatility, tougher competition for markets, energy resources, supply routes, trade wars, and the undermining of multilateral trade system. One should also add the surge of migration and the deepening of ethnic and religious strife. Do we need such a rules-based world order? Against this background, attempts by Western liberal ideologues to portray Russia as the revisionist force are simply absurd. I don't know what you're talking about here. But I haven't paid attention to U.S.-Russian relations. Russia was among the first to draw attention to the transformation of global political and economic systems. It cannot remain static due to the objective march of history. It would be appropriate to mention here that the concept of multipolarity in the international relations that accurately reflects the emerging economic and geopolitical realities was formulated 2 decades ago by outstanding Russian statesman Yevgeny Primakov. His intellectual legacy remains relevant. Now, I don't know that guy. As is evident from the experience of recent years, using unilateral tools to address global problems is doomed to failure. The West-promoted order does not meet the needs of humankind's harmonious development. This order is non-inclusive. It aims to revise the key. Well, yeah, you're right. Don't talk to Becky. Key international legal mechanisms, rejects the principles of collective action and relations between states, and by definition, it cannot generate solutions to global problems. Wow, dude, you are an academic. What is being proposed by Russia? First of all, it is necessary to keep abreast of the times and recognize the obvious. The emergence of a polycentric world architecture is an irreversible process, no matter how hard anyone tries to artificially hold it back, let alone reverse it. Most countries do not want to be held hostage to someone else's geopolitical calculations. Are determined to conduct nationally oriented domestic and foreign policies. I love it. This is like coming from a former Soviet where they just want a global communist. I love it. I love it. I'm not questioning the sincerity of the prime minister, the foreign minister's intent. I just was like, well, you were there, buddy. Weren't you all like, oh, we got to get Korea and Vietnam and Cuba and Central America and the whole damn world? How'd that Ethiopia thing work out? I remember sending food to those kids. Lots of jokes in the 80s. What? Look it up, history. The irony, most countries do not want to be held hostage to someone else's geopolitical calculations. Hello, Soviet Union? Yeah, imagine that. It is our common interest to... They're Russia now. They're not the Soviet Union, I understand. It's like a girl who lost a lot of weight and ended up liking guys. Like, wait a minute, weren't you just like this crazy fat feminist with purple hair that hated men? Now you normal hair, lost weight, got rid of the tattoos, and willing to suck some dick? What happened? Weren't you that girl? Like, oh, I was a phase. A Soviet 70-year phase. Yeah, about 70, 75 years. It's just a phase where 100 million people died, not during war. Oh, I think I get my headphone. There we go. That's more to damn. Where do we go? It is our common interest to ensure that multipolarity be not based on a stark balance of power the way it has been in the early stages of human history, for example, the 19th and first half 20th centuries, but be just democratic and unifying in nature, take into account the approaches and concerns of all those taking part in the international relations without exception, ensure a stable and secure future. Not against that. There are many speculations in the West that a polycentric world order will inevitably lead to more chaos and confrontation because the centers of powers will fail to come to terms among themselves and take responsible actions. But first, why not try? Not wrong. What if it works? All that is necessary is to start talks and agree beforehand that the parties should seek a balance of interests. Attempts to invent one old rule and impose them on all others, the absolute truth, should be stopped. You know, like communism? Okay, I'll stop the communism joke. You're not communism anymore. From now on, all parties should strictly comply with the principles enshrined in the UN Charter, starting with respect for the sovereign equality of states regardless of the size, system of government, or development model. Paradoxically, countries that portray themselves as paragons of democracy actually care about it only as they demand that other countries put their home in order, using the West-inspired pattern. But as soon as the need arises for democracy and intergovernmental relations, they immediately evade honest talk and start interpreting international legal norms as their own destruction. How long does this go? Oh, jeez. No doubt life does not stand still. While taking good care of the post-World War II system of international relations that rely on the United Nations, it is also necessary to cautiously, though gradually, adjust it to the realities of the current geopolitical landscape. This is completely relevant for the UN Security Council, where, judging by today's standards, the West is unfairly overrepresented. We're confident. It was kind of like the war powers of World War. Well, maybe you say modernly it should be changed. Interest of Asian, African, and Latin American nations. While any such design should rest upon the principle of the broadest consensus among the UN member states, same approach should apply to improving the world trade system with special attention paid to harmonizing integration projects in various regions. We should tap the full potential of the G20, an ambitious, all-encompassing global governance body that represents the interests of all key players. It takes decisions by common consent. Other associations now play a growing role as well. They project the spirit of a genuinely democratic multipolarity based on voluntary participation, consensus, values of equality, sound pragmatism, and the refrain from confrontation and block approaches. These include BRICS and the SCO, of which Russia is an active member and which it will chair. 2020 is evidence that without the collective effort and without unbiased partnership under the central coordinating role in the UN, it is impossible to curb confrontational tendencies, build up trust, and cope with common threats and challenges. It is time we come to consensus. I need 3 bottles of this to read your stuff, Sergei. Yeah, more difficult, reach a chord, put forward. I got to skip over this. Just is important to increase cooperation towards peaceful resolution of numerous conflicts, be it in the Middle East, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the post-Soviet space. The main point is to abide by earlier arrangements rather than invent pretexts or for refusing to fulfill obligations. Especially important today to counter religious and ethnic intolerance, we urge all nations to work together to prepare for the World Conference on Interfaith and Inter-Ethnic Dialogue, which will be held in Russia in May 2022, under the auspices of the Interparliamentary Union. Our unconditional priorities continue promoting the formation of the Greater Eurasian Partnership, a broad integration framework, more acronyms, and working with other countries. It would be a mistake to reject the obvious strategic advantages of our common Eurasian region in a modern, increasingly competitive world. Consistent efforts towards reaching this constructive goal will allow us not to only ensure the dynamic development of national economies and remove obstacles to the movement of goods, labor, capital, services, but also to create a solid foundation of security and stability across the vast region from Lisbon to Jakarta. What? We'll just make women tight asses and big tits here while I get you. Okay, got it. We got it. Will the multipolar world continue to take shape through cooperation and harmonization of interests, or through confrontation and rivalry? This depends on all of us. Russia will continue to promote a positive, unifying agenda and removing the old dividing lines and preventing the appearance of new ones. Russia has advanced initiatives. See, this is why I like reading this. He could be lying. He could be saying this to us. It could be pure propaganda, guys. But have you read this? All it is Russia bad. That's all you hear. Russia has advanced initiative to prevent an arms race in outer space, establishing efficient mechanisms for combating terrorism, including chemical and biological terrorism, and to agree upon practical measures to prevent the use of cyberspace. Our proposals to launch a serious discussion on all aspects of strategic stability in the modern era are still very valid. Ideas have been voiced recently to modify the agenda and update the terms. The proposed subjects for discussion varying from strategic rivalry to multilateral deterrence. Terminology is negotiable, but it is not terms for the essence that really matters. It is now more important to start a strategic dialogue on concrete threats and risks, and to seek consensus on a commonly acceptable agenda. As another outstanding Russian statements, Andrei Gromyko, 110th anniversary, said wisely, it is better to have 10 years of negotiations than 1 day of war. All right. I pretty much agree with the overall intention of what this guy is saying. It's one thing. I'm like, what? We have trouble. I mean, really, I didn't pay attention to news. It's been at least 10 years. The whole Russian thing kind of blindsided me. Like, what? Why? Why? What? And the problem with politics is if you got a life or you're a mature individual, like I don't got time for this. What is it, you morons, both elected in Russia and the United States of China and elected in China? Funny joke. What is it now? What is it, you over egotistical, bloated sense of self-worth morons? Why can't you play nice in the sandbox? And I'm just too tired of it. But for me, it's just what President Cappy would do. I'm elected president, right? I'd immediately get the intelligence and say, what has Russia done to us that has threatened us? Why were we expanding NATO? And I get Putin on the phone. Hey, was it because of the NATO thing? I believe it was Bill Clinton said, oh yeah, Bill Clinton, can you believe that? He lied. I'm not here. Frank Caliendo joke. I say, was it the NATO thing? I don't have time to read all this crap. Got enough domestic problems. Was it the NATO thing? All right. So if we end NATO, you keep Donbass or the whatever region over there. We broker a peace. And we're not doing the NATO thing anymore. Because, holy cow, how bad has it been for both Ukraine and Russia? Out of boredom, I want to know what the death tolls were, which you can't figure out. Ukraine is just as corrupt as Russia. Oh, we killed 100,000 here. No, we killed 100,003 of yours. I just shut up, the both of you. You know, how many young boys getting killed? That's all I want. All right. That was great. You killed your labor force. Good going, guys. Great. Wonderful. I say, is there a quick way to end this? If it was Western hegemony, whatever the hell that word is, and there wasn't any threats, like I don't have my intelligence analyst saying, oh yeah, well, what about this, Pootie baby? It's just us being dicks. Okay. No more NATO. I don't know. We'd like have Germany, Poland. We're going to protect Poland. F that. Poland's been tackled enough. United Kingdom, Poland, Germany. Maybe the Czech. I like Czech. They've always been good people. And they'd be about it. I'm like, okay, we're not doing it. And it's not a NATO thing. And I agree. We're going to limit our nukes down to this so we can still nuke the hell out of each other in case you decide to send some tanks over. And then you do your thing, we do our thing. Maybe we're not the best of friends, but we're not at each other's throats. And instead of horrifically wasting, war is you. You think war, like the welfare state, is bad? War is just you're killing your labor. You're not producing anything. One would argue with the welfare state, you're not producing anything as well. But just like, wow, there's a better way to do this. So he's right. Is the United States a little up its own ass and maybe force it? Probably. I'd have to be an analyst against looking at the data. But the terrorism thing, no. Planes do not fly into our buildings. Good for George Bush Jr. Get a cowboy hat. There you go. How many more weapons you want? I know pussies in America. Oh, what did we do? Oh, I know you hate yourselves. Nothing's stopping you from if you hate yourself that much, nothing's stopping you from not hating yourself that much. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, the United States probably has too big an ass on the international stage. And even China, which for corruption reasons and, the CCP being a bunch of dicks, you got to spy on us and all that, but it's better than Mao Zedong's China. Deng Xiaoping came in, liberated, look at the progress they made. Oh, he knows Chinese history too. Now Xi Jinping is a little bit different, but like, okay, look, Nixon came over. We're not the best of friends, but we don't have to be at each other's throats. I don't want to build up an army that has to take over China. You don't want to build an army that has to take over the United States. How about we just trade our things? We'll spy on each other. You try and steal our secrets. We'll make sure Taiwan is never invaded. In Russia, the same thing. That's all I know. Again, I'd have to study it more. But if I was president tomorrow and I didn't get any debriefing from any analysts or intelligence, I'd be like, hey, Putin, do you want to knock this stuff off? What would it be required to knock it off that we could do here in the United States? Okay, there we go. And everyone's like, you're anti-Ukraine. No, not really. Like the death to end. That one threw me for a loop. Now, I don't know if it was because the Soviets starved out Ukraine in the Holodomor, but that was so long ago. I thought they were like us in Canada or Germany and Austria. Like, what? So there it is. Yeah. I agree with the general. If he's true, if he's been intellectually honest, I agree with the Sergei Lavrov. But at the same time, really? You didn't do it? Let's make sure you didn't do anything. But yeah, and he does bring a good point. Like, look, we already have the legal or rule. Like, look, we're all going to play a game, right? And you all had to agree on the rules to play the game. Otherwise, you didn't have a game. It's no different than whether it was in your neighborhood with the guys or you're on the international. Look, here are the rules. You may disagree, but these are the rules. Let's follow it. Although I still like the idea, like, oh my God, the United States actually like a bunch of totalitarian, power-hungry communist dicks. Oh, I wonder where they got it from. Ask your KGB buddy over there. I don't know what he did specifically in the KGB. All right, let's go to the super chats. Carabagoon Cabulous for $5. Feliz Navidad, Cappy. Praying for a year of better decisions. Why? Did you make bad decisions? I make good decisions. I've been making good decisions for a long time. Oh, I made bad decisions. Don't get me wrong. Oh my God. Hat and Clogs found his wallet. Hey, Hat, Chad's not on, right? That all goes to me, right? 20 generous dollars. Happy Hanukkah, Cap. Wait, are you Jewish, Hat? I thought, maybe, I never asked. Enjoying Christmas with family. Do a shout out to all your minions, Atham, Drake, Chad, Jennifer, me, Mike, Rain? Who's Rain? And others. Oh, don't forget Alex Patino, our truck driving Latino agent in the How could you forget him? What's his name? Not Juarez. Juan the Aztec Patriarch. I'm going to forget people. I know that. Jennifer Hartnett, Donna Hannaford. Always sleeping with the other channels, that Donna Hannaford girl. Glory to our robot dog overlords and the blessings of Corona Chan. Oh, yeah. Who hurt you? Everyone in the world. Everyone in the world. Scrolling. Oh, hey, speak of the devil. Alex Patino, our truck driving Latino agent in the field. Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas. Oh, boy, I bet the kids are happy this morning, right, Alex? Are you kids young enough to still believe in Santa? Man, that's to have that again, be a kid on Christmas again. Holy cow. Oh my God, a blast from the past. And one of our Jewish agents in the field, Ashkenazi, a Jewish agent in the field. Arcady, it can $20, completely ignoring NATO's part in provoking this conflict by violating Minsk agreements. See, that's why I need. I never read this stuff. While pathologically virtue signaling about Ukraine to the MSM is congruent with typical Western hypocrisy. I see. This is exactly it. This is why it's like, hey, did we tell Russia we weren't going to do X? Did we do X? Well, I'm not the guy that lied, but if again, President Cappy came in, did one of our presidents lie to you? Okay, we got to make it up to you then. Here we go. How would you like it? Hear me out, Putin. How would you like it? What do we all fight for? What do we all fight? In the grains, we're fighting for pussy. I will give you half of our women that I get to choose. We will ship half of our women to you. And your Soviet men or Russian men can have our women. That'd be a declaration of war right there. We get nuked the next day. Well, happy Hanukkah there, Arcady. Capricorn Cabulus for $5 again. 100% on board with you. You'd think better minds would have avoided all this, but what you gift yourself this year? By the way, what you gift yourself? Nothing, man. What I did do, Capricorn, but it was because I got sick. Literally 72 hours ago, I felt good enough to go for a walk, a 2-mile walk, and no hills. I went to the gym for the first time in a month yesterday because a tornado chasing kid gave me gingivitis. It was a bad cold. Was it COVID or what? I don't know. But I definitely got a bad cold. And it wasn't harsh. It wasn't hard. I only had one night of restless sleep. It was just, it wouldn't go away. The most stubborn cold I've ever had. And so, after our nurse practitioner agent in the field just ordered me a ton of drugs, finally beat it. And today I'm going to try my first real hike, short, but uphill. Going to do that. And then my voice obviously is back. So, and I'm still taking off for the rest of the week. But what I did by myself, sorry, I forgot your question. A real long rest, because it was only 2 weeks I was knocked out, really, like the cold was bad. And the rest of the 2 weeks was I didn't have a lot of energy, but enough energy to go out and do things. And when I'm sick, I spoil on myself. So I ate whatever the hell I wanted, got back to the Twin Cities where there's like Potbelly and Kowalski's and all these luxury grocers. I ate a ton of food, but I think I lost like 7 pounds over the sickness. And then I didn't want to, but I had nothing else to do but watch television. Like it was like sleep, get up, eat whatever you wanted, and especially when I stopped doing asshole consulting and I had nothing to do. I had like 3 weeks of guiltless because the sickness prevented the guilt. I could just sit and be a fat piece of shit. Here's what I got, Capricorn. I got to be your typical American for like 3 weeks. Ate whatever I wanted, got no exercise, slept in, and watched an incredible amount of television and played a lot of video games. That's why if you watch, there's a bunch of reviews of television and movie shows I did because I just couldn't sit on my ass. I had to do something. But Yeah, and then it's Christmas, so we can't do anything now. But yeah, today is. Well, I already hit the gym yesterday, but today we're back. We're back, baby. Gym, work, or not work. I'm sorry, I'm not doing asshole consulting. I've finished a major project, but I got to do taxes. But I had a month off where I got to be a fat, degenerate American piece of shit. Now I know what it's like to be everyone else. Now I know what it's like to be the people that watch the sports bowl with the Northern man's jersey on their back. And I could see it, but then after a while, you're like, okay, I'm not doing anything with my life. But that's what I got myself this year. Oh, and I ate at Fogo de Chao, the all-you-can-eat different meat. Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Brian Dupree, guy's probably hiking more than I am. $10. Take my shekels for Hanukkah. Making $50 an hour handyman work. Have an offer from Union Pipefitters Apprentice Program. Big pay cut for 5 years, but huge benefits and pension after 10 years. Thoughts? How well funded? Look up how well funded their pension is right now. I don't know, man. You're making $50 an hour as a handyman and you're self-employed, dude. In that industry, is it going away? What, you think the Zoomers and millennials are going to know how to like do anything? Assemble furniture? And Alpha? You think Alpha's going to be any different? I don't know. I don't think you have to go to the union. I honestly don't. I mean, and how much money do you need anyway? You go work for someone else? No, man. Nah, I'd be doing. Look, you want to make more money? Just go work more. I think you're fine now. Here to help you with it, why don't you do some long-term budgeting? How much do you need? What do you want to do with your life? Calculate all that. Do some forecasts. Figure out how much you need to retire. If you're there, you're there. I don't know. The union. Oh, now you're dealing with people. And if I recall correctly, the union, obviously there's hardworking union people, but like any other tradesman, they're too busy effing their sister. Because that's what, remember, most tradesmen, the number one thing is to have sex with your sister. That's the most important thing for tradesmen. Then it's to drink and do drugs, and then to do a half-assed job and never complete it. Why would you want to go and work in that field? That's like me going, oh, you think I should work in banking? Those guys, bankers, don't have sex with their sisters. They have sex with their children. Zing. Hey, don't do that. They just screw the taxpayer. All right. Hat and Clogs, $5 again. Cappy, give a shout out to the chat and all the degenerates that support you, America. Well, yeah, shout out to all of you guys. Thanks. I think it's ridiculously stupid, all the amount of super chats I get. I think it's great. I mean, it's I'll never get sick of it. Never. I'm not sick of it. I'll never come to grips with it. It's a humbling, again, it's like being a stripper on the stripper pole. People throw me money for existing. No, you know what it's like to be a cute girl. Although I'd have to get the arrogant attitude. Wait. You see, to have that real effect, you have to have the lack of self-awareness to know it's your looks. You'd have to be so delusional, think like, I got my own business. Like, no, you're an OnlyFans girl. That delusion is what I need. I'll never have that. I know, like, this is manna from heaven. This ain't lasted forever. Matless X, 10 generous dollars. Russia under Putin has a top tax rate of 15%. Encouraged the Russian Orthodox Church after 70 plus years of communist rule. Supporting traditional family values between a man and a woman is anti-LGBTQ. See, well, there's where I'd be again. Like, no, there's gay people or not straight people in the world, but I get your point. It's much more traditional. But here's the other thing. Now, this I know from back in the day. Russia is horrendously corrupt, very corrupt, and that affects all aspects of life over there. So it's like, okay, it might be a sane nation in terms of male, female, family, human dynamics, but I got to bribe someone to open up my stores. The Russian mafia got to come in, that kind of thing. Let's block that person. Matless X again for 10 generous dollars says anything, if anything, Reagan defeated the communists in Russia, but he allowed the communists and fascists in America to live. Russia and China embrace. Well, see, that's the problem. He even said that, like, if He thought democracy and freedom would be strong enough in the marketplace of ideas that communism would never take hold. He says, and I think, don't quote me on this, he says, and if it does take hold, then we don't deserve to survive. But he may not have said that second part. Russia and China embrace capitalism more than the US. We are going in the opposite directions. I don't know about China, especially with Xi Jinping now, but Russia, yes, more so, I would say. And the United States, it no longer conveniently fits on a left-right dynamic, although the effect is still the same, more socialism. I would say the United States has become politically mentally ill, where people just worship their traits, made up or actual. That spills out into communism because you can't just be worshiping yourself because you happen to be black and have a dick. Well, no, dick is bad. Black and have a hoo-ha. A society doesn't survive that. You need to produce things. But that inevitably bleeds into, well, we need more other money. Why? Well, because that person is this flavor gender, this flavor color of skin, this flavor of ethnicity, and this flavor of what all the other traits. And we need to give them money. That person isn't producing anything. Well, we need to give them money. No, that's how it fit. This is the end. But black disabled lesbian hoo-ha. All right. Show me how that produces GDP, or we can export that. Hat and Clogs, $2. What world news? Watch the Duran with Alex. All right. Scrolling. John Flynn, $10. Man, Cappy's gonna. You guys pretty much paid for my Fogo de Chao with this. $10. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Cappy. Thanks, John. John Piles, $10. It's gonna be 68 degrees in Vegas, by the way, for Christmas. John Piles, $10. I was blue pill nice and even implemented red pill strategies all year. No presents from Santa. As of there is no Santa. The red pill is you go get your own presents. As of today, I'm black pilled regarding Santa. He doesn't exist. Joking aside, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, John. Dicastinator, $5. Happy Christmas, Cappy. Enjoy watching your videos, reading your books, and all the life enrichment you've done for me. Keep up the great work. Well, thanks, Dicastinator. I think Putin should read my books. He'd like, why am I doing all this? Screw it. I retire. I want to go fishing. I don't know. Maybe there's a piece of me that would love to go to Siberia just to check it out. Not during winter, of course. Justin Brink, $5. Cappy, has anyone ever told you your voice is soothing? If not, postulate theories on why. Not men. Interestingly enough, I've had 3 women volunteer. I didn't ask because I don't believe it, or never believed it back then, I guess. 3 women said I had an incredibly sexy voice. I'm like, what? And I've also had, I think, 3 women, one of which was the same, was impressed with my ability to drive standard transmission. This was long ago. I always found that odd. Like, this isn't a Barry White voice. This isn't a who's got a really good voice? Yeah, this isn't Troy Francis. This isn't Sterling Cooper. This isn't. Yeah, like, really? Oh, okay. I guess. When I have my voice. Wholesome DJ Aftershock, $5. It's time to blast on some Mariah Carey at Crappy's Plays. All I want for Chris. No, there is no Mariah Carey. Nope. No Mariah Carey on Christmas. Nonstop Dre, the man with the magical black penis, for $2. What's your thoughts on TFM's political triangle? It's useful, but I think oversimplified. It won't apply to every particular situation, and the absolutism gives too much weight to the power. Unless you're in a theocracy, I don't see the absolutism having that much power. I think a much more practical view of the world, regardless of what names and isms the academics with their 105, 107 IQs give them, is producers and parasites. There's always a producer. There's always a parasite. Not necessarily left, right. Like in the olden times, the producers were the serfs and the slaves, and the parasites were the slave owners, the Romans. So it's, or this American South, you name it. So, but there's always a producer group and a parasite group because of the strength and power of human laziness. And you'll see it, Egyptians and Jews going way back. The tradists and the producers. The tradists, oh my God, I'm born this way. All of you work more and give me your money. No, you hate my type of people. No, I just hate you because you're a parasite. So I think that is a much more practical, useful, and simplified, because that's all it is. There's people who want to work and be left alone, and there's people who want to live, who don't want to work and have no moral problems enslaving other people to pay for them. That's it. And it explains like 90% of human behavior. Alex, between our truck driving Latino agent in the field for $10 again, no one has stepped in to stop the war, especially Western Europe, just waiting for Uncle Sam to step in and pay. In the meantime, politicians and military industrial complex makes money off the war. Yeah, I believe it. I haven't paid attention to like how much Raytheon or Lockheed makes. I am fascinated with the absolute corruption in the Russian military, where their tanks don't work and they don't have armor, and just how profligate the corruption is. I mean, you had the second largest military in the world. Like the Russians, like, oh man, we get a bloody nose from those guys. And just to show you how bad corruption is for an economy, it took down the Russian military. It didn't, and you can't even say it took it down. It never made it what it was in the first place, or meant to be. Like they got all these really cool things, like the T-90 tank or whatever, that MiG that was in Maverick Top Gun. Do they fly? Are they operational? This is before the sanctions. Like, do you even have the parts? Do you train your military? Shocking. I think we're caught up. Nonstop Dre, $2. Cappy got sick with BDS, beaten dog syndrome. No, the dog of no real value was here, and she is so much better. She was jumping up and down, happy to see me. And then her mom took her away. She got a boyfriend now. I don't have dog of no real value anymore. I'm like, well, when's dog of no real value coming back? I want to go hiking. I want to go play ball. Fools. $5. Happy holidays. Get accepted into medical school. Oh, got accepted into medical school recently. Plus, little old, age 22, with upcoming recession. Is it worth getting into all that damn debt? Well, aren't you supposed to get accepted at 22? Like you get an undergrad and then you apply for medical school. You're the right exact age. With the doctor thing, man, you better really want to do it, because the consensus is with different doctors. You could search my channel. Doctors have written in about just what a pain in the ass it is. And I think aside from lawyers, being a doctor is the most regretted profession. Look that up. But yeah, I would definitely go in and look up what all the testing, all the certifications, all the schooling. And who are you saving? That's what I'd like to know. You're saving Americans. But a bunch of fat, whiny, hypocritical, lying sacks of filth who want to watch television and the sports ball. Like if you opened up like the League of Doctors for Extraordinary Gentlemen, and like, nah, you got to be producer class, and I'm only going to help out these people. But I think they have a bunch of oaths you got to take where it's like, oh yeah, here, take care of this criminal, this murderer, this welfare bum. Oh, do no harm. Well, it doesn't say mandated to do good either. I could say, is there a doctor in the house? I'd be like, shutting up. I'd be like, not today. I want to enjoy my Fogo de Chao. Oh yeah, who bit the dust? Karen? Does Karen need to? No. Oh, she got purple hair. Nope. I don't know whether there's a doctor. Alex Cortez, $2. Merry Christmas. Any new books soon? Nope. I do have books I want to write, but I got to finish my taxes. I got to go to Asia. That's the main thing. I also want to just sit on my ass and relax a little bit. Olsen DJ Aftershock, $5. I bought a gift for your Crappy coming straight from my heart. I bought a gift for you, Cappy, coming straight from my heart. I have it on the. I can't read. I got prescription glasses coming in. I have it on the middle on my hand, and it's currently stuck in an upright position. A lot of that going around. You don't even have to wait for Christmas for that. That it? No. DJ again, $2. Do not accept Medicaid if you're a doc or dentist. Oh, yeah. That doctors and dentists. There's a lot of lefty doctors and I'll help everyone. What's it like being a slave? Eric Burns Marsh, $2. Merry Christmas, Mr. Sully. Thank you, Eric. All right, that's it. I linked to the guy's article below. In the meantime, the Achieving Financial Excellence course is open. That's always open. But Achieving Minimalism Theory and Practice, that is open on Teachable as well. That'll be open until January 7th because I just want to open it once and be done with it. And for the New Year's resolution, people are like, I'm a fat, disgusting, debt-ridden piece of shit. Well, I could solve one of those problems. Yeah, but isn't there a way it doesn't require work? No. Why do you hate black people? What? I want the solution that doesn't require work. And if you don't agree with me, you hate women. What? All right, Merry Christmas to all you guys. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.